As a property manager, you understand how important it is to keep your rental units in good condition and for the health and safety of your tenants. Mold can be a serious issue that only reduces the value of your property and also poses health risk to your tenants. That's why it's crucial to be proactive in preventing and removing mold. In this guide, we'll be covering the complete process of mold removal, including the causes of mold and how to spot it. We'll also provide you with some tips and strategies for preventing mold in the first place. So let's get started and learn more about how to tackle mold in your rental properties. In short, mold is a type of fungi that grows in a natural environment. Unfortunately, when a rental unit has a high level of moisture or humidity, it becomes a breeding ground for mold. The mold then produces what is called mold spores, which are microscopic cells that travel through the air. These tiny organisms spread the toxic mold throughout the entire property, especially through the HVAC system. Then it becomes very difficult to prevent mold exposure. However, there are many different ways that mold can begin to grow in the first place. Let's look into the common causes of mold growth in a rental property. If a rental property has a mold problem, then it most likely has some sort of other problem as well. Some of the causes of mold problems include excess moisture, a very humid environment, leaking pipes or a leaking roof, poor ventilation, or a faulty air conditioner. Notice how a lot of these have to do with the overall environment of the property. For example, excess moisture and humidity are the most common causes of mold, but these are caused by other external factors, like the environment in the specific state. However, living in very humid climates does not guarantee mold, so you should learn to pick up on some of the signs that a property has mold. The best way to get rid of mold quickly is catching it at the beginning. That is why it's super important to know what signs of mold to look out for in a rental property. Some of the clearest signs of mold in your rental property can include a rotten smell, of course, presence of visible mold, contaminated carpeting, warped walls, health issues, and contaminated air filters. Knowing how to pick up on these signs of mold can make a big difference in how quickly it can be removed. However, since most of these signs do not include visible mold growth, it is important to test for it. Testing for mold can help the property owners confirm the presence of mold, even with some of the signs. Let's discuss how to test for mold in your rental properties. The easiest way to tell if a property has mold is to test for it. Mold testing can be done by the property owner themselves or by a professional. If the owner or manager wants to test for mold themselves, there are a few different ways to do so. One of the ways is to use a screwdriver or pointy object to probe the moldy areas. If the walls in the area are soft or crumble under the screwdriver, there's probably mold and rot has begun. If not, there are many choices of at-home DIY test kits. These usually come with simple instructions and give you an easy answer to whether or not there is mold. The last resort is to get a professional mold inspection. These are usually conducted when a property is being purchased to be 100% sure that there are no problems. Since it's not evident when mold grows, these inspections can come up with unexpected results. So let's say that one of your rental properties is being rented out by a tenant. Then the tenant reports indoor mold growth. So who is responsible for cleaning this up? Claiming responsibility for cleaning up mold in a property is quite a big task. Depending on the severity of the growth, the repairs can cost thousands of dollars. Let's cover the process of determining who is responsible for the repairs, the landlord or the tenant. State and local laws. The first thing that needs to be done before someone is named responsible is checking the state and local laws. Only a few states mention anything in their landlord-tenant laws about mold growth in the property. However, most mention things about providing a safe and habitable environment for their tenants. That is why landlords are typically tasked with getting rid of the mold in rental properties. But there may be some cases where the state law or local law states otherwise. Landlord responsibilities. If the mold infestation is reported by the tenant in a timely manner, it is the responsibility of the landlord to clean it up. This is especially true if the mold is causing respiratory problems or other health problems for the tenants. The landlord's failure to remove the mold can lead to a variety of different things. If the tenants are suffering from severe health issues, the landlord can face quite a hefty lawsuit. The landlord can also face lost rent or the charges of property damage if the mold is left untouched. Tenant responsibilities. If mold growth is caused by tenant behavior, then the tenant can be held reliable. For example, if there is a cleanliness clause in the lease agreement that the tenant does not follow, they may be held liable for all the charges of getting rid of the mold. This means that even though a lack of a mold-free environment violates most state and local laws, it's the tenant's responsibility to get it fixed. Now, no matter if it's the tenant's fault or the landlord's fault, it is time for some mold remediation. Removing mold is not easy, especially if it's black mold, but there are some things to try before calling in the professionals. Let's talk about some of the best ways to remove mold from a rental property. Removing mold from a property is no easy task. However, it can be done with some hard work and dedication. Moisture control. The first step that needs to be taken is to control the moisture in the unit. Since the likely cause of the mold is excess moisture, fixing that problem first makes the rest of the process much easier. Some of the things to look out for when trying to fix the problem include cracks in the foundation, moisture on the floor, and leaky pipes, and other things that indicate excess moisture. To get rid of this moisture, you can run a dehumidifier in the area. This device sucks in all the humid air and removes the moisture from it. This way, the area around it has much lower levels of moisture. Discard affected drywall. After taking care of the moisture problem, it's time to take care of the actual mold. Since most mold is going to be located on some sort of drywall, that is where you are going to concentrate your efforts. You can find the drywall that has been affected by poking around with a sharp object or by simply looking for dark spots on the walls. Once the affected area has been found, it should be scrubbed very heavily with some cleaning agent. Continue doing this until the wall is free of dark spots. If this does not work, you may have to discard the piece of drywall completely. If the mold is this severe, it's likely that you will have to treat the framing as well. Treat wall framing. If you had to remove moldy drywall, you will most likely have to treat the framing behind it as well. This mold can be removed by vigorously scrubbing at the framing until the dark spots go away. After all of the mold has been scrubbed away, you can treat the wood with a mold abatement product. These products typically specialize in preventing mold growth and can help save you time and money in the future. After that, replace the drywall and move on to any other spots that have mold. Sanitize affected carpeting. Carpeting can be affected by mold in the same way that drywall is. If you find that your carpeting has been affected by mold, you can still save it before discarding it. If the mold is not established, the carpet can be washed with a solution of water and cleaning agent to disinfect it. After that, it is important that you set it out in the sun to dry. Make sure to leave it in the sun for long enough, as it is harder for mold to grow in dry areas. To learn more about cleaning carpets in your rental property, be sure to visit DoorLoop's blog. So now that you see how difficult it is to actually get rid of mold, you probably want to know how to prevent it in the first place. Luckily for you, we're here to help you out with that. How to prevent mold growth in rental properties. Conduct routine inspections. One of the best ways to prevent mold growth and most other problems in your rental properties is by routinely inspecting them. Routine inspections allow property managers to know exactly what's going on in the properties and quickly put an end to any problems. There are, however, many limitations to rental property inspections in many states. Fix all leaks. As mentioned before, one of the most important things to do to prevent mold is to fix leaks. Since leaks make it easy for moisture to increase in a rental unit, it makes it much easier for mold to grow as well. If you're having trouble finding a leak or don't know how to fix it, it may be time to call the professionals. Depending on the location of the leak, you can either call a plumber, a roofer, or a carpenter. Keep humidity levels low. Keeping humidity levels low go hand in hand with fixing leaks. Especially if you live in very humid climates, it may be worth it to install dehumidifiers in your rental properties. It's important to note, however, that the humidity cannot be too low either. Low humidity has as many consequences as high humidity. If you follow all of these steps, your property will be free of mold in no time. By following these steps and taking proactive measures, we hope this guide helps you with any potential mold problems in your properties. As we mentioned earlier, if you'd like to learn any additional information about these topics, be sure to check out DoorLoop's blog. Thank you so very much for watching, and we'll see you soon. Bye!